Hello. So before Mauga got removed from the game, we tested a few more things with him that I'll just get into right now, starting with an addition to characters that are able to escape from Mauga's ultimate, starting with, can Reaper use Shadow Step as the ultimate goes down to get out of it? No, he cannot. The ability will just be cancelled as soon as the Mauga ultimate gets placed on top of him. The next hero is Lifeweaver. He can actually escape under very specific circumstances. He needs to be very high up on high ground, at which point he can pedal platform himself up and get enough height to actually break the chain and escape. The thing is, as you can see, even being this high up does not break the chain, despite me being well above the barrier of the ultimate. So yes, Lifeweaver can technically escape, just has to be a very specific situation for him to actually do so. The next hero that's actually able to go through Mauga's ultimate is Moira. Unlike Reaper's Wraith form, which is really bad, Fade actually lets Moira not get stuck if she goes through Mauga's ultimate, so yay, that's good for her. You can't go through the entire thing in one Fade, as you will get caught as soon as you appear inside, but you can definitely take a quick shortcut through the ultimate if you need to while you are inside a Fade. Another hero that can technically go through parts of Mauga's ultimate is Tracer. Because Blink instantly puts Tracer from one location to another, she is able to go through parts of Mauga's ultimate as long as her ending location is also outside of the Mauga ultimate, meaning she's basically only able to like barely clip corners of it, but that does technically mean that she can get through it, and probably might be useful for people to know that they can blink through the sides of a Mauga ult if they need to. And because we mentioned EMP letting Sombra escape from Mauga ultimate, it only seems fair to say that Roadhog can escape as well, as Whole Hog deals like 900 damage per second, meaning he can easily just use his ultimate to shred through the barrier and get out. But I mean, why would you do that when you can just do this instead? But yes, with his ultimate, Roadhog is able to escape from Mauga's ultimate. Will Mauga keep his infinite ammo if he is pulled out of his ultimate by a Lifeweaver? The answer is no. As soon as Mauga exits the ultimate, he loses his infinite ammo, but he can regain the infinite ammo by walking back into the ultimate and getting trapped inside of it again. But this is where it gets interesting, because if two Maugas on different teams were to use their ultimate, the game will always prioritize chaining you to the enemy team's Mauga ultimate, and you still keep the infinite ammo when that happens. This means that if we were to use our ultimate and then get pulled out of it by Lifeweaver, and then the enemy Mauga uses their ultimate at a completely different location, if we walk into the enemy Mauga's ultimate and get trapped by it, we get the infinite ammo back despite being nowhere near our own ultimate. This suggests that the requirements for having the infinite ammo have nothing to do with being inside of your own ultimate. Rather, it just has to be you need to be trapped by a Mauga ultimate, not specifically your own, and your own ultimate needs to be active. Now, knowing this, you might be wondering, well, is there a way to lose your infinite ammo while inside of your own ultimate still? And the answer is yes, and it might actually be something that happens more often than you would think. First, the enemy Mauga has to place down his ultimate first. After that, you have to place down your ultimate, which will now give you the infinite ammo because you are chained to his ultimate. Now, when the enemy Mauga's ultimate runs out, because you are inside of your own ultimate when that happens, for some reason, the game will just not trap you inside of your own ultimate again, and because one of the requirements for getting infinite ammo is to be trapped by a Mauga ultimate, you actually lose the infinite ammo despite being inside of your own ultimate ability. Of course, this can be fixed by simply walking outside of the ultimate and then walking back in, which will cause the game to trap you again. But just a very weird interaction that, yes, Mauga can actually lose his infinite ammo if he's standing inside of his own ultimate. So something to look out for in Mauga ultimate 1v1 fights. Moving on to other things related to Mauga's primary fire, can Mauga crit enemies that are standing in Torbjorn's ultimate? Yes, he can. Molten Core does count as a form of being on fire for Mauga's volatile chain gun. If a Genji deflects Mauga's primaries, Do they keep their property of lighting enemies on fire or critting enemies who are already on fire? And the answer is yes. The bullets do keep their unique properties even if they are deflected by an enemy team's Genji. Next up, do the on-fire effects from Mauga's primary and dynamite stack on top of each other? And it can be hard to tell from this clip, but yes they do. Mauga's fire deals about 2 to 3 damage per tick. Dynamite deals about 3 to 4 damage per tick, and in the clip, once both of them explode on me, I am taking about 6 to 7 damage per tick, which then after a while goes down to 3 to 4 damage per tick once the Mauga fire runs out and only the dynamite fire is active. So yes, they don't cancel each other out, they do actually stack on top of each other. But can Mauga crit an Orisa that's using Fortify? Yes, Mauga can deal crit damage to a fortified Orisa by lighting them on fire first. And speaking of Mauga being able to crit things, what other things can Mauga deal critical damage to? Mauga can crit Torbjorn's turret if he lights it on fire first with his primary fire. Weirdly enough, Mauga is not able to crit a barrier, at least alone. For some reason, his primary just does not light Reinhardt barriers on fire, even though barriers are able to be lit on fire. So alone, Mauga actually cannot deal critical damage to barriers, but if you have an ass on your team, she's able to use dynamite to light the barrier on fire, which then allows Mauga to deal critical damage to it with his secondary fire. So yes, Mauga can crit barriers, but not on his own. Mei walls, Mauga can both light on fire and deal critical damage to. Next up, does the Sunstruck status from Illari's ultimate allow Mauga to deal critical damage? And the answer is no. This unfortunately does not count as being on fire and allow Mauga to deal critical damage. Is Mauga still able to generate OverHealth from his passive while being antied by Ana's biotic grenade? Yes, he can. OverHealth is not considered normal healing and will be applied over Ana's biotic grenade. Next up, does the OverHealth from Mauga's passive stack with other forms of OverHealth, such as Lifeweaver's Tree? So Mauga's passive has a maximum OverHealth cap of 150, and Lifeweaver's Tree can give a maximum of 100 overhealth. And as you can see on this clip, with both of them active, we get a total of 250 overhealth. So yes, the overhealth caps do stack. So you can get value from both of these abilities at the same time. Next up, for some more testing on Cardiac Overdrive. If you have two Maugas on the same team, either in no limits or from having an Echo duplicate an enemy Mauga, do the abilities stack together? And the answer is no. I healed 135 health from killing the Cassidy using just my own passive, and then with another Mauga using theirs at the same time, I still only healed 135. And we tested dealing damage, and the damage resistance was the same as well. So now next up, testing if the Lifesteal passive from Cardiac Overdrive will stack with Reaper's already existing Lifesteal passive. So killing a Cassidy, I restore 79 health on my own as Reaper, and then with an enemy Mauga using his Cardiac Overdrive nearby, I now heal for 214. So yes, the Lifesteal does stack, granting Reaper 95% lifesteal with both of these abilities being active. 35% from his own passive and 60% from the Mauga ability. Next up, some testing with Mauga's charge. What happens if two Maugas were to charge into each other? As you can see, they just both get knocked down. The same as you know how two Reinhardts pinning into each other would knock them both down. Next up, is Mauga able to avoid damage from Sigma's Flux by using his charge? The answer is yes, kind of. You have to start your charge before you get lifted up, because once you get lifted up, movement abilities are disabled, so you're not able to use your charge in the air. But it's really easy to avoid, because even if you've just started the ability, it won't cancel it, so you'll just break out of it as soon as he starts running, even if you get lifted up. So yes, Mauga's charge allows him to easily avoid taking damage from Sigma's Flux by just breaking out of it by pressing the button. Next up, will Doomfist Rocket Punch knock a Mauga out of his charge? No, it does not. The Mauga still takes impact damage from the punch, but other than that, it just does nothing. Next up, does Brick's Flail knock Mauga if he's charging? As you could probably guess, the answer is no. Same with other abilities that we tested. Junkrat's Concussion Mine if you place it on the ground and try and detonate it as Mauga runs over it. It'll deal damage, but it won't knock him around at all. Same for Trap, it'll deal damage to Mauga, but Mauga just immediately breaks out of it and continues running. Same with Pharah's Concussing Blast. It'll deal the damage because they made it deal damage now for some reason, but it will not knock him at all. Even Ana's Sleep Dart does absolutely nothing to a Mauga that is charging at her. It is just complete immunity to any, you know, crowd control abilities, just like Orisa's Fortify is. So of course you might be wondering, can Mauga escape from a Mei ultimate with his charge? And of course the answer is yes. It's complete immunity to crowd control, so it just grants him immunity from the freeze effect if he uses it. Even if he's about to get frozen, as soon as he starts the charge, all of the freeze buildup is just instantly gone, reduced down to atoms. Kind of ridiculous for an ability that's on such a low cooldown. Lastly, finishing up with some testing related to Mauga's ultimate ability. Will Junkrat's tire get trapped inside of a Mauga ultimate? And the answer is yes, surprisingly. If you do drive your tire into a Mauga ultimate, it will be chained. And this not only removes your ability to wall climb, but also your ability to jump with the tire at all. All you can do is roll it around. So yes, if you want to tire the enemy team, do not try and take a shortcut through a Mauga ultimate. Next up, is Mauga able to escape from his own ultimate without a Life Weaver? And the answer is yes, but it requires having the enemy team's Mauga use their ultimate as well. Because the game will always chain you to the enemy Mauga's ultimate, you can just place down your own and then freely walk over outside of the barrier. And then once the enemy Mauga's ultimate ends, you'll just be outside of your own and free to leave. And this is kind of funny because it creates possibly the goofiest ultimate fight situation in the game, where if both Maugas use their ults on each other, the best way to fight in this interaction is just to go as far into the enemy team Mauga's ult as you can, because getting out of your own ultimate means that the enemy Mauga is still trapped inside, and because he is, he won't be able to deal any damage to you, and you can still deal damage to him, and you still have the infinite ammo. So this means the best play for the enemy team's Mauga is for him to go as far inside of your ultimate as he can, so that he's outside of his own. So yeah, the optimal play if two characters use ultimate abilities that are meant to be a cage fight to the death is for both of them to just go hide from each other inside of the enemy team's cage. Kind of goofy, but that's just how the interaction goes. Next up, can a friendly Doomfist punch an enemy inside of a Mauga ult into the side of it and get the stun on them? And the answer is no. The sides of the Mauga ult are just a barrier. They don't count as a wall. So if you do punch someone into it, you just never get the impact damage or the stun from the impact. Is Mei able to block line of sight to Mauga ultimate with her wall? The answer is surprisingly no. Even if Mei places up the wall before Mauga's ultimate even goes down, it'll just chain her straight through the wall. It does not count the wall as a valid form of line of sight to not trap her inside of the ultimate. Next up, are you able to heal people who are inside of an enemy Mauga's ultimate? And the answer is yes. Any form of healing that goes through barriers will still be able to heal through a Mauga ultimate, such as, you know, Mercy Beam, Break Repair Pack, Moira Coalescence, anything like that. In addition, if the Mauga ult is placed up on high ground, the only thing blocking the healing is the barrier and the fact that it is a barrier that blocks healing, as barriers do in Overwatch. So if the Mauga places it on high ground and you can look under the barrier, you can actually heal people as heroes that normally can't heal through barriers like Ana by doing that, in the same way that if you were to go, say, a Life Weaver, you could platform yourself up and then heal people from above the barrier because it does not block anything from the top. So yes, there are several ways to heal people who are trapped inside of a Mauga ultimate. Next up, can a friendly Roadhog hook an enemy out of a Mauga ultimate? And the answer is yes. The hook will just break the chain, keeping them trapped inside of the ultimate and allow them to be pulled out. Now the next myth, can you place Mauga ultimate on top of the cars in Oasis?
We got him where we want him.
Yes. Yes, you can. But can you place it on top of the boats in Rialto? Yes, you can as well. You'd think this would be a really good plan, but it doesn't work that well because you need line of sight to the center of the ultimate to be chained by it. So you can't just put it on a boat that's going under the bridge and trap everyone inside. It'll only grab them if they do make line of sight to the center of the barrier. But Can you place the barrier on the Griffins in Blizzard World? Yes, you can as well. Also leads to some very jank interactions because of the walls that surround the ride. It can get very jank if you mess around with it. Next thing to test is that, can Lucio wall ride on the sides of a Mauga ultimate? And the answer is no. It is just a barrier. It is not a valid wall. However, even if it was a wall, Lucio would not be able to ride on it because wall ride is disabled when you are changed to a Mauga ultimate. You just cannot do it at all even if there is a wall inside of the ultimate. And then the last myth for today, if Mauga gets resurrected inside of his own ultimate, will he get trapped by it again? Yes, as soon as Mauga is rezzed, he will get re-trapped by the ultimate. And now lastly, for some random 2 bugs that we found that could maybe be useful. For some reason, sometimes if you try and place your ultimate while you're standing next to someone on the enemy team, it'll just put it upside down. And then as Mauga, you can actually use your charge inside of your own ultimate. If you drop your ultimate while holding down the charge button, Mauga will actually charge in the brief time period between he finishes the animation for placing it down and the ultimate actually activates and traps him. And for some reason, this will cause him to be chained to his own ultimate while still charging. So just very strange, but maybe something that could be useful. I don't know. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully some of this stuff was interesting and can maybe help you if you find yourself in any weird situations as Mauga when he actually comes out. And until next time, see ya.